Throughout the life cycle of World at War, hype was constantly building for the new Zombies mode. Each map was a game changer. Each one added something that was new and exciting and instantly became an important part of the Zombies formula going forward. So, after a 2-year wait between games, hype was at an all-time high for Zombies fans. Finally, in 2010, Black Ops released with 2 full new maps as well as a bonus mode. One of the maps was locked behind campaign completion, and the bonus mode was even more hidden, but as soon as you put in the disc, everyone had access to possibly the most iconic map of all time, Kino der Toten.
Only time will tell what new questions await us in this theater of the damned.
Famously, Kino was actually being worked on as a map for World at War, back when they were originally planning to release more DLC after Der Riese. And that makes a lot of sense because it really doesn't feel like a huge generational leap forward. Again, all the World at War maps did something to make themselves stand out. Nacht der Untoten defined the core gameplay loop, Verrückt introduced perks, Synonymous had a new wonder weapon, Hellhound rounds, and tried out random layouts, and Der Riese added Pack-a-Punch. By comparison, Kino was the first map to not make any major innovations like that, which was kind of the expectation given the long wait between games. Instead, what ended up being so perfect about it was the way it felt like a culmination of everything that had come before. The map that put all the pieces together and distilled the formula into the purest Call of Duty Zombies experience. Black Ops 1 was the best-selling Call of Duty game up to that point, so just mathematically, a lot of the players that would play Kino had never played a Zombies map before. So having a map that played it safe and just did what was tried and true was a great way to onboard that new player base in a way they knew would work. It was, again, a distillation of everything they'd learned up to that point. And it obviously did work, because Kino is iconic, almost mythic in the Zombies community. It was the most available map in one of the best-selling games in the best-selling series of all time. Almost anyone who was playing games in 2010 has experienced Kino at least once. People know what window they cover in Spawn Room. They know not to open the door on the left of the stage. They'll have an opinion on M14 versus Olympia. It's such a popular map that it's become mimetic. It's a beloved, shared experience between so many people who play games. Important to this is the fact that even though on paper it seems like this is the series just being stagnant, this is just another Der Riese, Kino also gets a huge bump just by virtue of the fact that it's on the Black Ops engine. The momentum of the series was kind of saved by this map being delayed, because this way it got credit for all of the improvements that were made between games. The big one was the fact that Quick Revive now acted as a self-revive in solo games. Now, solo players still had a reason to get all 4 perks, because it basically gave you a limited number of extra lives, which automatically made it exponentially easier to get way further than ever before. On top of that, there were also a lot of smaller, quality-of-life changes that all added up to make a much cleaner experience. Like, for example, the melee system just generally feels a lot better than in World at War, or even small things like double points applying to the bonus points you get from Carpenter and nuke drops. They played it relatively safe with the game flow, while still adding enough to keep it from feeling stale. Beyond the changes inherent to the Black Ops engine, there were a few things that were truly new in Kino. It really wasn't just a Der Riese clone. Fire Sale was a new drop that spawned a mystery box at every location on the map and reduced the price to the absolute minimum 10 points, which would always lead to hectic runs of people splitting off to different areas of the map to find their own box, and trying to juggle actively training zombies with swapping weapons out repeatedly to try and get the best weapon in the limited amount of time. Speaking of weapons, the wonder weapon for this map was the Thunder Gun, still to this day one of the best guns ever usable in the series. The Wunderwaffe from the past couple maps was pretty good, but this was just on a whole other level. There was basically no downside. It did infinite damage to as many zombies as you wanted, blasting them out of the way as basically a get-out-of-jail-free card out of any corner. The zombies it killed didn't drop any power-ups, but that's really not a concern on your mind when the ability it had to get you out of danger was just so powerful. The formula for Pack-a-Punch on Kino was very similar to Der Riese in that you had to link the teleporter, but a nice bonus this time was that it took you to a spot that was 100% zombie-free. This projector room is one of the very, very few actually safe areas in Zombies. A super rare chance for a quick break between the endless rounds. Lastly, in addition to both zombies and hellhounds returning, there was a new enemy type in the Nova Crawlers, which were implied to be monkeys involved in the 115 experiments alongside humans. These change the game a lot more than they get credit for. They can be really frustrating because you're constantly having to move your line of fire up from the zombie's head level down to the floor, and also because if you kill them, they'll set off an explosion that kills all the zombies in the surrounding area without giving you credit. This can be a blessing because you can kill a lot of zombies and progress through the rounds with a lot less ammo, but also a curse in that you can't build points without spending time surgically extracting them from the rest of the horde. In terms of environment and storytelling, it still wasn't anything revolutionary. It did have the first intro cutscene, nothing major, but a voiceover hint as to the story you could find if you spent the time to search the map for the hidden radios. They effectively just continued the story started in Der Riese of German 115 experimentation. Like Der Riese, Kino was a Group 935 station, but instead of a purpose-built facility, it was an existing building that was repurposed. So you get the benefit of something like Verrückt, where the map has a realistic flow that helps you parse it as a real space. It has things like a lobby, backstage area, a dressing room that all make sense in the context of the theater. There were also some reverential nods to real-life German culture, like the expressionist films of the 1920s Faust and Metropolis, which was a nice way to remind the audience that Germany is more than just psychotic Nazis. The thing that Kino der Toten did that made it so successful, maybe even partially unintentionally on the developers' parts, was that it was so accessible. Look at the backlash to something like Black Ops 3's first map, Shadows of Evil. It gets the praise it deserves now in hindsight, but at the time it alienated a large group of more casual players. From that experience, it's obvious how important it is to have a digestible, onboarding experience. Pretty much anyone can hop on Kino as their first map and be successful, both because it's one of the easiest maps to navigate and train zombies around in, and because the objectives are so straightforward. It's obvious what you're supposed to be doing. And by being basically a highlight reel of all the lessons that were learned slowly over the course of all the World at War maps, it ended up being a perfect first Zombies experience for so many people. Almost everyone that was in the gaming community at that time can relate to this shared experience, making Kino probably the most iconic Zombies map, and the one that's most synonymous with the mode itself.